Season 2 is here, ladies and gentlemen. The DrumQuig podcast is back. You guys really only have to wait like a week or so, but we still got to do some theatrics here. And I thought, who better to bring somebody who I've known probably for the better part of 14, 15, maybe 16 years at this point. He's played in UNRB, Leon Majcen, and most currently, Mia Marlene. Welcome, Eric Allaire. How you doing, buddy?
I'm adding my own effects. You can do this in post. Also, hi, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. It's so good to see you. We've talked about doing this for so long. Felt like this was just a perfect time to do it. So you got
Mhm.
your tea, you got your nerd room. We got this going.
We got the standard lights,
Yeah.
and they're even multicolored because some of them are dying. So we're it's all top notch here.
That's for effect, right? That's definitely for
Yes.
effect. So dude, I was trying to figure this out earlier. Like, I don't remember when we first met, but I want to say it was the Best Buy holiday party. Like, I feel like that was one of the things. And
God, the best
yeah,
the Best Buy, the show in the Best Buy.
somehow I convinced my managers to hire you guys and Johnny Cakes to come play.
I could only imagine what that must have been like for people who just needed some headphones.
It was after hours. There was no customers.
That's
But I
right.
know
That's right. I forgot.
I distinctly have a video of you doing a solo, and I was like, "This guy's freaking amazing." And I want to say that's where it started. So, you know, since neither one of us can probably remember this point, like, what do you remember as the first memory when it comes to drums in general?
Man, when it comes to drums in general, the first memory, oh man. Well, I would say that it was kind of an offshoot of my first memories of music, which are pretty. That's a pretty big treasure trove of memories there because like multiple family members were musical, but just keeping it to mom and dad for a sec. My dad played bass, and my mom was a ballerina, and so I know it is so cool, but
Sweet.
yeah, and so very musical family. And then my dad would show me videos, like in elementary school and stuff. And, we had all of like the standard, like, hand chime bell choir, like glockenspiel. We had all the standard, like elementary school, like percussion stuff. I remember specifically there was like a take home basket in one of my like first or second grade classes. And if you were like the student of the day on Friday, you could pick something from the basket, take it home either over the weekend or overnight. And it was super cool. But I remember there were these super bright neon purple and green butterfly shaped tambourines. There was two of them. And I was like, I'm going to get
That's it
those.
right there.
Yeah. I behaved so well. And yeah, I got to take them home. And they were my pride and joy for like 2.5 days. But, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, like, dad showing me videos of stuff he liked. Dad's a super big fan of Simon and Garfunkel. And, he's a super big fan of Vanilla Fudge. And, speaking of which, Carmine Apiece kind of, like met him at the K-pop tree right down the road here.
What?
Yeah, that was insane. I'll tell you about that. It was a
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got to come
D-drum
back to that.
convention. Yeah, so cool. Anyways, but yeah, he's a big fan of Vanilla Fudge, and showed me videos and stuff. I originally wanted to play trumpet, and it was like sixth grade. You got to try out the mouthpiece, and I didn't know what to do, but I was just kind of tried to cop it. It did not go well, and I remember Mr. Edwards, Carwise Middle School, told me, shout out Mr. Edwards. Ran into him at a Publix a few years later. He said, and I quote, "I think you should focus on hitting things." And here we are, man.
I think he was right.
Cheers, man. Cheers to sixth grade band teachers, man.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's kind of what started it. And then I did the traditional route, going through school and playing in bands and stuff like that. So the
I
answer is
love
purple tambourines.
purple butterfly shaped tambourines.
Hey,
Like, we have
man,
to,
I'm a
don't
buzz
leave
guy.
out the details. Don't leave out the details. I love that story. All right, Carmine, I got to hear this because that was so random, and I know we're gonna skip over some things, but I got to hear that because the K-pop tree is where I had my senior prom.
Same.
So that's yeah.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, in Clearwater, Florida, right behind the Sam Ash, there is a huge, beautiful ballroom
R.I.P.
convention style thing. Yeah. Well, there was, right. There was a D-Drum convention there a number of years ago. I'm just gonna throw a guess. It must have been like 2013 or something like that, just something crazy. And a mutual friend, potentially of ours, Devin Garcia, who I went to high school with.
Yes. Played
Yes.
trumpet. No, not played trumpet. No, Devin, I know who you're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, I'll text.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, hold on.
a little behind the scenes, but he kind of clued me into a D-Drum convention that was happening. I guess maybe he had like a +1 or something, but somehow I weaseled my way in, and we got to go in there and we got to see some performances, eat lots of free food. We got to see, and I always butcher his name, but Ray
Lose the year.
Luzi.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to see him do his crazy high holy China thing. There were a bunch of D-Drum artists. It was a while ago, so forgive me for not remembering some of the big ones, but Carmine was there outside, and we were standing next to like one of these like, like one of those like stone statue carvings outside in the garden. And I'm really sorry. I'm going to tell you what he did, but I'm not going to condone any of it. He cupped the breast of this statue, and he looked at me and waited, and I was like, "Heh." Then my friend took a photo, and and so there's a photo of me and Carmine at peace, just with this statue. It looks like a Doctor Who gone wrong kind of thing. And but it was great because he was so gracious and so friendly and so like just so not what you would expect.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're gonna have to dig that photo out because that's pretty
Yeah, and
funny.
he had the chop. He had the chops too.
Gosh.
The Hulk Hogan.
Gosh, another one. Jeez. You know, we talked about this the other day. This has nothing to do with drums. So anybody who's only here for drums,
I'll
mute.
do Downfall of Paris in the background while you talk. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Never once in my life, living as close to Clearwater as I have, did I ever just run into Hulk Hogan. Like all these people. Oh yeah, I ran into him here. Oh yeah, right. Not once. I feel like I got cheated there. Like I don't know.
Hulk Hogan, no. I did run into Mike Allstott once. That was really cool. Total sidebar. My mom works on Clearwater Beach, and so a lot of times she'd get like uh, like athletes and stuff. And one time she waited on Mike Allstott and Warren Sapp at the same time, and I was just like, "Oh, dude, what I would give," because like that was their prime. That was like
I was gonna
those
say that
years.
was a yeah, that was prime.
But this isn't a sports podcast. Get out of here
No,
with
this is
that.
it's two friends who are gonna go off topic a lot. So let's
I do apologize to everyone listening to.
listen. They come here for the fun. You know, that's what it's all about. And it's so funny talking about Carmine. It's Todd Sickerman's playing with Styx tomorrow night in Clearwater, and that's just a weird thing to hear out loud. Like it just doesn't seem right, but the sound has really started to kind of up its game. And I mean, I one of these pictures behind me, I can't remember which one, is from the Dream Theater show at the Bay Care Sound in September last year. That again, that doesn't work. Like it just seems so weird to me. So anyway, we can go on about that for days. I want to know about influences because that always has to come up because there's so many different ones, and your playing style has changed even since I've known you in a way that it's evolved into kind of your own style. So like, who started the influence, and where has that changed as you've gotten into playing now?
Man, well, well, thanks for noticing. I'll say. So I was born in the year of our Lord, 1991, and so I'm probably I'm 35. I'm probably influenced by some similar things to you, but I will say if there was like one like main shining north star for like the middle high school kind of realm, it was the Rev for sure.
Gosh.
I have a death bat tattooed on my back. And yeah, so like I got it like right after he passed away.
Mm,
But yeah, so the Rev, but it was one of those things where like I played a lot of orchestral music, I played a lot of jazz, I'd played in some garage bands, and so like I had like some idea of like what you were allowed to do. And then I heard City of Evil and Waking the Fallen and all of these albums that I was just like, I know what it means to have my face melted.
yeah.
Like the melting of the face is the opening of a door, really. And I mean, the Rev's playing style was just so. I mean, if you look really hard at UNRB, you'll hear exactly where I stole things. And I'm a big fan of stealing things. It's one of the best things. But it was I would say he was definitely, and then probably getting a little bit more into college is when I got a little like more like outside looking in, it might have looked a little snooty, like I'm listening to Snarky Puppy, you know, like like I but I got really into like what you might just call like weird stuff, fusion, things like that, which is obviously so many different genres. Just saying the word fusion,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah. It's like
but
saying
for
jam band now, but that's a whole nother
right,
conversation.
right, right. What was I saying? Oh yeah, fusion. So yeah, like something happened like sort of after like the UNRB years, which for me would have been like 2017, where I started getting more into like groove stuff. I started getting more into like James Gadsden. I
Mm,
started really just like looking backwards too at things that I really appreciated about stuff I came up on that was more groove based, particularly like Chad Smith with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like you know some of the groove, just like the groove focus that was there, right? Because I think something sort of happens. And if your foundation is metal, that's one thing. But something sort of happens as you mature and go through your career and you know, start doing like the wedding gigs and you know, buying a suit and figuring out I need mics. Like what? Like, you know, there's some sort of refinement kind of happens. And since you sort of have to play for a lot of different bands, you kind of like just you kind of open your blinders as wide as they can go and take in as much as you can. And I think the things that kind of stuck was all of that like I will say Motown, that stuck with me huge because that's hugely groove based. So I
absolutely.
love listening to anything with an influence like that, anything with a New Orleans influence, anything John Baptiste even touches is like like he's one of my favorite artists in the world right now. But yeah, so but I would say, you know, and I do remember the original question. You might think I forgot, but I would say the Rev was probably my initial main influence for sure.
What's so funny about that, going right to the Rev, is, what a masterful player. And I think one of the things that kind of blew me away is like, yeah, Backcountry is amazing. There's no question about that. But like tracks like Sidewinder, where you listen to that and it's just that punch groove, and you're like, oh, and it was a metal groove. That's really what it felt like when you listen to that. And I think one of the things that blew me away the most was when Portnoy filled in for them on the Nightmare album. I thought he wrote the drums for that. And you find out Jimmy had written everything already and he played it to his specifics to honor him. And I was like, that's one of the coolest things ever. But also, I really wish we could have got to hear like what it would have sounded like with him playing.
There's a whole career that we missed out on with the Rev, man. I feel like, you know, since Avenged is still going, he probably would have still been with them, but he would have kept doing Pinkly Smooth, his side project. He would have kept making like that weird, like a little piece of heaven style, like orchestral kind of stuff he was doing. He would have
I
kept
love
doing
that
that.
song.
He would have been the next Danny Elfman, and I stand on that hill. Anyway, but yeah, like yes, Backcountry, fantastic, awesome. I heard it when I was like 13. It was like, what? Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
wear belts now. So, like, if you were to look at I think it was 2009, they did a live in their hometown like album, like a live album. But
Mhm.
it came with an entire new recorded album called Diamonds in the Rough. I don't know a lot of people that know this album, or at least they go to it first thing. But there's a tune on that album called Crossroads. And the first thing that Jimmy does is my favorite fill he's ever played. It's the double ride thing that he does, and it goes into like this weird, like, you know how he used like the chopper effect symbol? He would do like a chopper tom, like and dude, when I hear that fill, I make a noise that I shouldn't. And it's a fantastic song. But that whole album has a really cool vibe to it. I don't know what they did in the studio that was like different or what feels different about that album, but there's something to it, and I think more people should listen to it. But when it comes to Nightmare, dude, I mean, if you're a fan, or if you were a fan of the Rev, but let alone Avenged Sevenfold, and you've heard Fiction,
But yeah,
like that's a hard song to sort of reckon with, right? Because then people start asking questions like, did he know something was going to happen? Because it sounds a lot like a goodbye, and oh man, I legitimately get emotional when I think about that album. But Mike Portnoy, dude, what a goat! Like, he came in and he did. I think it was almost hard to tell anyone had changed, and I think that was the goal. Like, right, like, just it's almost like what Annika's doing right now. It's like I'm literally just trying to play, like, I'm
I had
trying to do this
goosebumps.
thing, right?
Goosebumps right there.
Right. You're honoring someone, right? Like,
Yeah.
so Mike did it, Annika's doing it. Like, it's so sick.
And we talked about that, on the last episode, is that, you know, I had Rage Page Cantrell. Like, she's playing with, I'm gonna say it wrong, Vern Dyer and the Burning Breeze. Hopefully I didn't get that one wrong. But I was like, what's it like for you to see Annika playing with Rush? She's like, she's killing it. And I was one of I don't want to say a full doubter, but I was a little confused by the choice. I had seen her play, but my go-to, my choice would have been Danny Carey. I felt like that was the only appropriate one, but that was literally just Neil 2.0. And I say that with the utmost respect to him. It wouldn't have changed anything. She changed everything. You have new fans going. The first night she dropped a stick, like in one of the first fills, recovers, doesn't skip a beat. And I went, like, in that moment, I went, she got it. She
Yep.
got it.
Real quick, just for that moment, just hell yeah, dude.
Because the next night she looked calm. The next night she looked calm. The next night, every night that they did it, my dad watched the whole show. And I was like, all right, what'd you think about night 1, night 2, night 3? And he goes, I've seen enough. She's good. Like, she's exactly what we need to be. But going back to Portnoy, in the Nightmare Phil, when he's doing that ride part and you hear that double, I always thought it was the 2 like Jimmy would do. And then when you see Mike do it, he would actually do it with one hand, and he would just do that double stroke on. And I was like, my God. He did it in the Drumeo videos, he did it. And I'll have to send you the video where he does it. And
That's
I'm just like,
is that the one that's like the
no, it's even the chorus, you should have known. And for me, I always thought that was a double. I was like, oh, he's just doubling up. Does it with one hand. And I was like, man's not human. And then Max is fantastic too.
Yeah, I've only just started seeing videos of Max. I've maybe seen one, but like that video, I mean, I think Mike was in that video. Where did they do a Drumeo thing together?
They did. They did it was the Father's Day one where Max told him all his favorite Dream Theater albums and songs, which I thought was really cool. But it was like, the kid is just like, got this. But he's also been playing drums since a year old. Like, it's not, that's not nature versus nurture. But also, if your dad's Mike Portnoy, I feel like you have to play the drums. Like,
I mean,
like,
Hawkins' kid, Shane, I think, right?
yeah,
I mean, what a player,
yeah,
But I mean,
fantastic.
if I wonder if it's almost inevitable if you've been literally hearing drums since you were like inside of your mom's belly, like you've been hearing drums just go like your whole life. Like, it's almost impossible. Like, imagine like, sorry, this is totally like it's totally hypothetical, but like a kid who grew up, like maybe you're like Phil Collins' kid, right? And you're
Nick,
such a sick,
yeah,
yeah, like you're such a sick drummer or something, right? But you deliberately choose to, like, I'm gonna be a botanist, but like on the side you're like a sick drummer, and you're just choosing not to. It's like,
wonder if there's some of those out there. I wonder if there's some that were like, dad went down that rock and roll lifestyle that ruined the family, that destroyed the family, like, and they've got like this incredibly secret talent where they're like, yeah, I can do this, but I'm not going
prodigies
to.
who said no.
I'd watch I want to start going down that rabbit hole. All right, who's got famous kid? Like,
If I
what
ever
drum?
don't make it, that's what I'm gonna say that I was, so I can totally just cop out.
Like, Carmine was actually my dad.
God, dude, you know what? They kind of look the same. We got to do a side by side.
Oh my gosh. But no, I love, when you talk about the influences, we've talked about it before. And, obviously for me, Neil was a big one. Portnoy was a huge one because I was 10, 11 when Scenes from a Memory came out. And that album to this day changed my life. It's there. It's in a frame because I haven't been able to frame it yet. But I had Dream Theater sign it, all of them, and I just went, "You guys, I don't think you realize like this changed everything. This changed music for me forever." Because there's no going back once you heard that album. It was like opening Pandora's box, not to get, that way, but it really was. And we really think about these influences and, being influenced by people like Stuart Copeland and Carter Beauford and Lars. Lars was always the first. When I found Metallica, it was like, oh my gosh. And then when I found Metallica, it was the Black Album. That was what, kind of started everything for me. And then I got into Master of Puppets and of course Injustice for All, which came out the year I was born. So that was for me, I like to say. It truly baffles me how much your influences change over the years. Like you said, getting into the weird stuff, fusion. And like lately, like I love metal, like as evidenced by the August Burns Red behind me. But like I love jam band stuff. Like I love Pigeons and I love Lamp and I love Lamp. I just realized I didn't even try for that one, but that was
Almost.
fantastic.
I'm so glad you stopped there because I would have just been like,
Are you just saying things you like in the room? I love Carpet.
do you really love Carpet?
But you look at these bands and Aquios, who I'm always going to say wrong because I never knew how to say it before. And then when I found out how to say it, I didn't want to change. And then, I had the pleasure of having Rob on the show. I've had the pleasure of having Alex from Pigeons coming on the show and, getting to talk to these guys and watching their brains. Metal has structure and metal has like, you know, metal guys, you've got blast beats, you've got these fills, you've got incredible double bass. The jam band guys are like, I'm going to play on this hi hat for 10 minutes, but it's going to sound really cool. And and I go, I love this. This is great.
All of it's good.
All of it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it had to do with number one, getting older and my stamina just not being the same, but probably also maybe a little bit social media because like, I follow a lot of cymbal companies and stick companies and, a lot of drummers and a lot of, and things will sort of like kind of like go viral and sort of overlap. And like recently I've been seeing a lot of videos of Zach Doobie, right? Playing for Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of videos of him and like sort of that kind of like comes up. And like then I see like Mohini Day's drummer. I forget their name, but I see them come up a little bit. And so like, it's like part of the I guess even all the way back from like MySpace was just kind of like what was sort of served to me, what was kind of put in
Yeah.
front of me. And I just so I hate to be that guy, but I do kind of like everything a little bit. I
I don't
know
think
that
there's anything wrong with that anymore. And I think that's because I'm going to treat it like cable and follow me on this one. Cable used to have everything that you could ever want, one place, and you could watch History Channel, Discovery Channel, TCM, Cartoon Network. Like you could watch whatever you wanted. And then streaming services happened and they started to pull some of that away from you. And I feel like that was our way of like honing in on what we really wanted to watch because you had to decide what you needed to get to where it was.
you didn't
And
have to go you didn't have to go get it.
yeah. And now we're coming like full circle where it's back in that like we're having to refine once again,
Yeah.
like
But
what we're doing.
I'm really glad that I did have the era of like going to Sam Ash and looking at the spinning cart full of DVDs. Like
Oh my God. Yeah.
when you actually had to go get the information, right? Like when I bought Red Hot Rhythm Method for the first time, and I was just
For the
like,
first time.
I lost the code, okay? But so like, but like, and under the table drumming, and like just all
Oh
of these, like, you know what I mean?
gosh.
Like actually, and I mean, I would say that I did this less, but I did it once or twice. But like buying like transcription books, I have one of Gavin Harrison with Porcupine
Jeez.
Tree. There's a
I
transcription.
love
I
Porcupine
can't
Tree.
even look at it. It's like the Ark of the Covenant. Like my eyes bleed when I when I look at this thing. But it's so cool to see. I didn't know you could have that many notations for symbols.
No, and listening to him talk even, you're like, I understand, but I don't understand. Him and Matt Garska the same way. Like it's like math prog, like super math. Like
A
they're
lot of
like superheroes.
yeah, like speaking in systems. Like when I watch him teach, I'm like, you have just a process for these things. Like that's so cool. It's so tangible.
No, that was great. And I think I have a Dave Weckl book. I've never read transcriptions in my life. And the funniest part is like when I started in band, like I can read music. I just can't read music well. But if you show me the piece of music and then you play it, I go, "Oh, okay, this happened, this happened. I got this." And I literally got through all of high school using that.
It's like the different learning styles, like kinetic. I have the list somewhere in my saved photos, but it's like, God, I'm blanking on the other ones, but kinetic's one of them. But anyway, but it's like some people learn by physically doing it. Some people learn by watching and repeating. Some people learn by hearing it. And if you're especially if you're like a mallet instructor, like for like a high school or something, you'll have a full line of marimba and vibraphone and xylophone and glockenspiel players, and each one of them learns differently, and they're all trying to learn the same music. And you're like, all right, here we go. So
You're like, "We got this."
yeah, but reading, I mean, if you look at guys like, Dave Grohl who openly speak about like, I do not know how to read. They don't even claim to know like anything really. Like if you talk to Dave Grohl, you're like, are you all right, bro? Like like you're awesome, man. Come on, chin up. But like
He stole everything from disco. That's what he told Pharrell.
that's what he
Like,
told Pharrell, right? Exactly. But it's like, he's like, man, I don't know anything. It's like, well, I mean, you know something. But
yeah,
he
you know
yeah, he does
something.
he doesn't know how to read, and it's like you don't as a sorry, I just hit my mic, but as like a band person, like I don't even tell my kids like you have to learn how to read. You just have to learn the music I give you. That's all you have to do, you know. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good segue because one of the things we didn't mention at the beginning is you being a music teacher. So I kind of want to talk about how you got into that. Because again, I've known you playing for at least 15 years. So the teaching side of it, like I always like seeing the videos of the recitals and like how excited you get. So like how did that come about and why do you love doing it so much? Seems like a dumb question because I already know the answer.
Well, I obviously it's a great gig. It's as with anything, like teaching is a part of the music sphere. And if you find yourself in the creative realm, then you find yourself potentially having to deal with multiple sources of income, right? Especially going off to college, higher like being able to afford things, life, housing, whatever, right? In this economy, like but and you might find yourself with some gigs, and that's great. You might find yourself with some recording things, some church gigs, some cover stuff. You might be a composer, you might work in orchestras, but you might also, I mean, most people can teach. I I think it's like you do have to have some level of capability on your instrument to like disseminate that information. But like
Hmm.
it really, if like you have a certain level of patience, even if you can fake it for 30 minutes, like you can show people how to do things. It's really not that hard. The hard part that I think a lot of people miss is like speaking their language, right?
Hmm.
Spreckety zalingety. And I don't know, sort of tailoring it's albeit it's easier for me as a private lessons instructor. When I'm teaching groups of people, there's a different approach there. But in
Yeah.
terms of in terms of the how, it was simply a matter of needing a job. And there was a place near my house that I went to go teach for. I think I started right around near the end of my senior year, maybe my first year of college. But it would have
Wow.
been like the 2009, 2010 era. And I started teaching there just sort of part time while I was in school. And then this is kinda where it gets a little funny for me because, like, I had started in a band at that time, that was UNRB,
Okay.
and I was still teaching, still doing that, and then I went out to a Mike Johnston drum camp in Folsom, California. Mike Johnston, like like
The Mike
the
Johnston.
Mike Johnston. And for those of you who don't know, Mike'sLessons.com, Meinl cymbal artist, Vic Firth, Quare, and
Don't come after us, Aquarian, if that was
Or
wrong.
I think I don't know. Anyway, long story short, fantastic educator. Probably like, if like the Drumeo is for Canada, Mike is for like the States and stuff. But anyway, long story short, he does camps. He's in the hundreds by now. Like he's done so many of them by now. But this was back in
Jeez.
2016. I went out to one and It was dude, it was October 2016, and I flew out to Folsom, and Pokemon Go was really big at the time. So I remember I had my phone and I walked out of the Sacramento airport and I caught a Bulbasaur. And that's the first thing I did. And that's how I knew it was going to be a great week. Yeah. And so Millennial Chats, what's up? How's it going?
All right.
All right, there we go. So we all go to the hotel and Mike meets us in the lobby and we have this week of just glorious drumming music education. But on like Tuesday or whatever, it was like private lessons day. And so we all got a lesson with him. And my time was on the board and I was crapping my pants, all the way up until that time. And I go in and we sit down. And at one point he was just like, "Hey man, I've seen your videos like on Facebook, like the stuff you do with your kids." And I was like, "Oh, that's sick." Like
Yeah,
he
right?
he he kind of like checked out the 12 or so of us, whatever, that were coming to the camp that month or whatever. And he kind of gave me like a Mufasa in the sky moment of like, "You need to do this. I think you'd be a great teacher." And,
Wow.
my sister always says that, like, I'm basically like Ned Schneebly from School of Rock in terms of, like, my temperament as a teacher, and I'm like, honestly, I don't mind that comparison because if you're gonna teach music, like like why would you want it to be a miserable experience, right? And
Exactly.
I think
It shouldn't be the normal way of teaching. It's
some of
not the like
right. Sorry.
no, no, you're fine. Like that's frustrating because it's like it shouldn't be the same way. It should be unorthodox in methods, but have some sort of structure.
It is a really strange thing, isn't it? But like our so we're here, our teachers were definitely abused, right? Like they were definitely smacked with chairs for not playing major scales right. So like, we're just coming out of that, right? So, we're making the change, we're making it happen. But sorry, I just
No,
just I was just like, "Oh man."
I just think about ninth grade drumline
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
getting hit with a 2B across my arm, and it hurt.
Oh man, you just went somewhere. I just
It
saw you.
hurt.
You just went
Yeah, it
somewhere.
just that was painful. Yeah, I got off the drum line that like after that year, I never went back.
I mean, look, as a music educator, I can tell you that I've seen all the stories, every different reason that somebody quit music. And I will say, as a music educator, I have been the reason someone quit music.
How
And
did that how
that's the
did that
dark.
go?
But I mean, like most lesson teachers here listening probably have this kid, where it's like that if you maybe could have done something, said something a little bit differently, reacted a certain way different, you know? But I think that's like for me, that was the thing I was like the most mortified of happening, right? Like if you're a person that does forklifts, like, dropping something from a huge height might be like the thing you're the most scared of happening at work, right?
Yeah.
For me, I think it was being the reason someone stopped taking drum lessons. Now, granted, there's only two of us in the room, right? So like I'm gonna be it sometimes. But I specifically remember this one girl, and I remember her so well to this day. I'll leave out her name, but she came in and she told me one day that she had practiced, and then like 28 minutes into like a 30-minute lesson, she told me that she was lying the whole time, and that she didn't practice and stuff like that. And I wasn't mad that she didn't practice, but I was mad that like the whole 28 minutes I was going off bad information.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of what I was like, if you just told me, like I would have been able to do the right thing for the last 30 minutes. Anyway, so I clearly reacted roughly that way. And then, I got a text from the mom basically saying, so and so is saying they hate drums, they hate music, they never want to do this again, that kind of thing. And I realized that it was a young person, and it's one of those situations that I can, a thousand things could have happened differently, and I can always go and say, what could I have done differently? Could I have reacted differently? Could they have reacted differently? Like, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like and I don't mean to sound dramatic, but like, how they say like the receipt for love is grief is like, I think like if you're gonna be a teacher and you're gonna do like the noblest endeavor of like trying to lead children into or well, I mean, and granted, I teach all ages, but like in this case, children, try to lead them towards, some level of competency, you're going to miss a few marks. It's going to happen. Especially if you teach in a classroom, like, and shout out to the classroom teachers because they deal with whatever I've dealt with times way more.
For sure. For sure.
Excuse me. But yeah, so look, I mean, not to go into the hard part of it all, but like that is the hard part of it all is like, knowing that that happened and that, there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is hope that down the road, much like martial arts with me at least, is that something sparks an interest in her, maybe as a young adult or a late teen or something, and she sees like a Broadway musical and something clicks where they're like, I think I like music, and then like hopefully they can open the door on their own and step back through it is all I can hope, right? Because
Yeah.
I can't fix what had already taken place. But for a
I
while, I definitely viewed myself as like I definitely took it to heart. Like I was like, I'm a bad teacher, like that kind.
Of course.
Yeah, we're
You're
human.
gonna take it that way. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it would be impossible not to, you know, especially when you're teaching children. You don't have that rigidity, I think is the word I'm looking for. Like there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of molding. And so, but not all of it was you. Like
yeah.
there could have been a
You're
hundred other things going on too.
you're keenly aware of the effect it'll have though, because we all remember teachers in our lives, and I definitely know that I'm still my batting average is still pretty good. There are there are at this point, if you count the music store, grid book, private practice, and all the drum lines and front ensembles and special needs hand drum classes that I've taught, like there are probably somewhere in the park of thousands of kids and adults that I've had a chance to teach.
Yeah.
And
And you're still thinking about that one girl.
yes, like but honestly, I only do that to honor the experience, right?
For
But
sure.
But all of those other like 999, like I am so stoked that there are at least a few of them that I'm actually they're adults now and they're actually playing in bands. Like I would just like to shout out one of my students' bands right now. They are called Historically Close Friends. My my student
That's
Jillian.
fantastic.
Yeah, they are a fantastic band out of I think DC. But they're called Historically Close Friends, and it's one of my former students, and she's out there crushing it. And it's that kind of stuff, dude, that I live for. I mean, I think it wasn't her, but it was another former student that just reached out to me out of the blue over Facebook Messenger, and it started out like the "Hey, I don't know if you remember me" thing, and I remembered them right away because they had a funky last name, right? And they were like, "You taught me drums from blank to blank. I just wanted to say, like, I stopped for a while, but then I picked it back up. Now I'm in a band, and I'm thinking about maybe minoring in music at SPC or whatever." And you're just
My
like,
God.
you just want to do the Squidward, like you just like just like it's the coolest thing ever, man. Anyway, that I mean but that's the payoff, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's awesome.
that's the question of why do you do this? And
Yeah.
that was the answer.
It's quite long-winded, but that's the answer.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less.
Thank you, sir.
We know each other pretty well.
Yes, we
And
do.
that, the martial arts thing, like we talked about that before, and but something will respark it. Like something will do it. I say as I don't believe that for myself, but
Look, man, I mean, I think we're both very sexy 200 plus pounds guys, right? See, yeah, so both true, correct. And I think part of our martial art journey, we really should consider longevity.
yeah,
Like we
I think that's
can't.
what it comes down to just like with drums. Like you said, the stamina factor, it's gonna go away at some point. Like you can't do that. And I say that as I watch Tommy Aldridge videos and he's doing these things, and I'm like, dear God, how are you still doing this?
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible?
But
It's a one off.
you look at guys like Todd, and they're fit. They've taken care of themselves, and you're like, if I'm too injured, that is going to get harder and harder. For example, my ring finger doesn't straighten anymore. You see that?
Oof.
Yeah. So I got that. I actually just saw a hand guy. Sorry to everyone watching. I know it's a little gross. Good news is nothing's broken, but it did happen at jujitsu. I can still drum. My diddles are fantastic. I mean, no, they're exactly how they were before. Not great. Sorry, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I was worried about my left hand for a little while, but no, everything's fine. I can still play, but something happened where it like jammed really hard and it never quite healed straight. And I went to the hand doctor and he basically said, it's a little bittersweet because on one hand, it's oh yes. All right. Sorry. We had to acknowledge. But
Yeah.
but he said on one foot, he said, you know, it's not broken, but there's no like special surgery we can do. So don't let anyone work on it. But like there's nothing we can really do. But on the other hand, you don't need surgery. So like I was like, so like what should I do? And he was like, I mean, you can sit on it. And I was like, really now? Like, okay. So, and he was like, kind of what I'm getting at though is, I'm still gonna write you a little prescription so you can go to an OT and get like a stint made or whatever. But what you might want to do when you're not like wearing that, or perhaps after you take it off, is just kind of slowly bend it back, kind of like over time and stuff. And I was like, so this could just be how it is
Yeah,
forever
this
now,
is
right?
and you're not seeing those injuries as drummers. You're not seeing you're not seeing the hands start to cramp. Yeah, we all have some sort of tennis elbow or carpal tunnel because that's gonna happen.
Dude, if I get
But
sweaty enough, my kick leg Charlie horses.
oof,
Mhm. Yeah, so
oof.
I'm always drinking the water, man, always. But that's another thing is like, you start out with no earplugs, you bring your drum set, no mics, no rag, no water, no nothing, effectively raw dogging your set. And then you do that enough times, you start to go, what sucks about this? And then you're like, let me bring a water. And you're like, all right, what sucks about this? All right, let me bring a rag. Let me bring my in-ears. Let me figure out how to dial these things in. Let me figure out how to make this experience a little bit easier. And then, obviously with like a big road crew and a situation like that, you know, you might have someone teching your drums for you. And honestly, my lower back can't wait for that. I'm always going to be, I think, a part of the setup process because I'm one of those guys. I like, I have to touch it.
Yeah, you have to be the ones be like, listen, I'm giving this off to you, but I need to do this part.
I'm gonna show up in 2 outfits to any touring gig. Like I'll show up in the all black with like the clipped on thing on the pants, and I'll be like, I'm the drum tech. And then they'll be like, oh, cool, all right, yeah, go ahead. And I'll set everything up and I'll sound check. And then it's like, all right, where's the artist? And I'll show up in my show clothes, like ready to go. Like, wait a minute.
Told that during one of the Galactic Empire shows that I went to, and if you've never listened to them or watched them, you need to, because they do all the nerd metal. So Star Wars, Jurassic Park. We just lost Sam Neill recently, so that one sucked. But I watched this guy setting up, and I'm looking at him, and I hear him start to play, and I went, "Wow, he's good." And then the guy comes out in full costume, plays, and then the show ends, and the same guy from the beginning is now drenched in sweat, and he's putting away the drums, and I was like, wait a minute,"
Hands on, baby.
and I do love that for sure because it's that semblance. It's like when people get too famous and they don't grocery shop for themselves anymore. They don't do anything for themselves anymore. And then you have the ones who are just like, I just want to go to the store, man. Like
I'm not worried
that's
about getting too famous and not wanting to do stuff. I'm worried about getting too old and not wanting to do stuff. Like that's what I'm more worried about. When I hire someone to just wheel me out to the stage, I'm like, all right, but I can still play pretty good. All right, maybe I won't feel so bad.
yeah, exactly. You got to get lighter
A
drums.
wheelbarrow.
Get lighter drums. That's what it's going to take at this point.
Yep. Some
I
kind of
don't know
like
if you've ever I don't know if you've ever seen Spinelli's drums down in Pinellas Park, but dude, those things light as a feather. It is scary how light those drums are.
he's the goat, man.
I think the funniest part was I didn't realize how many people knew him until I like started talking to people and they're like, John, 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 John. And then Jordan Jensen did probably the most perfect John Spinelli impression on the show. And I think I'm going to have to make a clip of just that because it was fantastic. It was just perfect. And anybody who knows him sounds just like him. So,
Jordan's fantastic. I didn't know he had that talent.
gosh, I didn't know that you knew Jordan.
I know Jordan because him and my wife worked at the same
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
They did
I think
in
I think that's what it was.
Almerton.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where I met Jordan.
No way.
Yeah. I
That's
didn't
what's up.
realize I listed that. That's even crazy. I looked behind the counter and I literally just saw a guy with 2 Sharpies go, and I went, friends, like that's how this works. And I mean, that was 12 years ago. Because I remember I worked in child welfare at the time and I was in training and I used to walk to that Starbucks across the street.
I remember when you moved to, what was it, Texas?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He's going to be out here. He's touring with Get Me the Knife. And then he's going to be here for Drumfest, which is my shameless plug and way to transition right into that. So, Florida Drumfest, September 20th, everybody. It's in Eustis, Florida. You need to look up where it is because I know nobody's ever heard of Eustis. It's a nice
Eustis.
place. Eustis. It's over by the villages,
Nice.
but everybody knows where the villages are. But
Mhm.
we're going to be there in person. So it's going to be super cool to be at this entire, basically expo going full circle about the DW expo. DW, I believe DW is going to be there along with dozens of other vendors. And then they just announced the Derek Rowdy Blast Beat Clinic. So that's going to be fun to see because I haven't seen Derek play in person in 15 years. It's been a while.
I gotta text you about this.
That's the after. Well, this is the part of the show where I set it up for you, man. We didn't even talk about me and Marlene. We didn't even talk about any of the other stuff, which means we unfortunately have to have you back. I mean,
Got to plug.
so tell me about the gigs coming up, things you've got going in, late July, August, kind of where you're at with all that.
Yeah, so aside from the normal, gigs with the church and the cover bands and stuff like that, right now, me and Marlene, we're in the studio. We're going to be releasing our next full length record. It's going to
Sweet.
be the last record, Good for My Art, is more of like a 80s synth pop kind of thing.
Okay.
This next record, which is very loosely titled right now, we don't actually have a title. It keeps changing, and but we have like some crazy amount of like 10 or 12 songs that are in the works right now that we're going to be recording over the next few months. The first single from that record, Colorado Sky, is actually going to be coming out on all streaming platforms August 7th.
Heck yeah. Perfect
And I'm
timing
playing
then.
the drums for it and the
Dude,
shaker.
the music videos are fantastic, by the way. Like just seeing you play and having the time of your life while you're doing it.
Oh,
I
thanks,
think
man.
that's one of the coolest things. So, dude, can't wait to hear that. I mean, by the time this comes out, I mean, that'll be about a week away. So, I mean, that's pretty exciting, dude.
The
Like
video
that's
for it might be out by then too. Our friend Albert with Black Everest Productions, gonna shout him out, best videographer in the biz.
sweet.
And yeah, so really excited for pushing that out. And then our next tune after that, Girl in Bozeman, should be coming out probably maybe a month or two after that.
Sweet. Well, I mean, the timing will just have to work itself out. We'll have to figure out when we're doing this again for sure. But all right, man, I'll go through my spiel. Obviously, jerseys for drummers. Absolutely love this jersey. Working on my new one as we speak. It's going to debut for Florida Drum Fest. So I'm excited about that. I got some input from Matt Griner from August Burns Red, which was really freaking cool
Whoop whoop.
because, you know, kind of, uh, kind of a big fan of the guy, if you haven't noticed. As I do that, listen, I did that for me. I did the Ben Folds for you, and I think the funniest part is finding out that was you and Alyssa's wedding song. So it's like
Dude, the
that's
luckiest.
that was pretty awesome. But
Thank you again, by the way, so much for the opportunity for having me. This was a
of,
blast, man.
of course, man. Yeah, and just my last few Stay Tuned records over in Tarpon Springs. I love Doug and Amy. We talk about them all the time. At this point, it'll be, probably about 2 months since the incident occurred where the unit above them flooded, ruined a bunch of records. So I put the link in every show. Guys, just go on there. They've got some really cool stuff. And if you don't see it in the store, they've got a giant warehouse where there's just, I mean, I've gotten some really cool things with, from Led Zeppelin to John Lee Hooker. I've gotten, I think one of them was Samurai. Probably one of the coolest things I ever got. And I'll have to send you a picture of that after. I bought an album because there was a samurai on it. Literally know nothing about the band, but I was like, "I'm gonna check this out." But really just want to shout them out and, support local business. We talk about tangible media kind of losing its edge and how, these bands coming out now, like so many bands are putting things on vinyl and we're getting that tangible media back, in an age where companies like PlayStation are saying they're not going to make discs after 2028. And that's just mind blowing that we're losing, music is coming back and video games are going away. Like that just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, dude, on behalf of myself, DrumQuig podcast, it was an absolute pleasure. And so good to see you, buddy, man. So good
You
to see
too,
you.
man. Thank you so much for having me, man.
You got it, man. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the DrumQuig podcast. Thank you so much.